You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's Once Upon a Time After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Once Upon a Time After Show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to AFTERBUZZ TV. We are doing the recap for Once Upon a Time Season 3, Episode 5, titled Good Form. I am Cathy Kelley, and our whole crew, our Save Henry crew, is here tonight in the studio. To my right, Tiona Hobson.
Hello, aka the Blue Fairy.
AKA the
love
Blue
it.
Fairy.
The Blue Fairy.
I'm dressed as Dorothy from Wizard of Oz, in case you are listening and not watching. And then across the table, we have Marisa Serafini.
Hi, everyone.
Agent Marisa Serafini.
Agent Melinda May.
Yes.
Yes.
From Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
That's right.
And then to Marissa's left, we have Kaori Takee. Kaori, thank you for joining us tonight.
Hey guys.
She is dressed as the Invisible Woman.
It was really hard, but I got some magic.
Yes. So
This is the best costume ever on AFTERBUZZ history.
It's pretty intense. Yes.
Flawless.
I'm still wondering, how did you do that, Kaori?
Well, it was a little tough, but I just found some creativity, found some pixie dust, and used some magic blue fairy stuff, and boom.
All magic comes with a price, and you're using it on a Halloween costume? That's so weird.
Worth it.
Totally worth it. Totally worth it.
It's amazing.
So, guys, let's get into tonight's episode. Let's start off with the Lost Boys and Henry. The Lost Boy, one of them is poking fun at Henry, literally poking fun at him with his sword.
Rude.
And
Definitely.
Henry, very upset with this, says, the Lost Boy says, if you can't handle this, how are you going to handle what Pan has in store for you?
Which is true, but it also makes me question which Lost Boy was it? Because we haven't seen him yet.
Yeah, we haven't seen him before.
So
I'm sure he was dancing around the fire somewhere.
yeah, I just want to know which one it was.
And kind of how he fits in. And my question was, well, Henry's not asking for what Peter Pan has in store, just like he's not asking for you to poke at him. So leave the kid alone. He's sitting here minding his own business. Leave him alone.
Yeah. Kaori, what do you think?
I think I'm really worried about Henry right now because I think he's confused whether to keep on believing or completely just let go and have fun with the Pan Clan.
I like that. I like that. Henry tries to retaliate and picks up a stick, because a stick versus a sword is always a good idea. Pan steps in and says, believe that you're holding a real sword. Henry closes his eyes, believes that he's holding a real sword, and starts fighting. Or first, I guess it turns in to a sword. He starts fighting the boy and ends up slicing his cheek open a bit. Did we see that from Henry before? Like, did you see that change coming?
That was very surprising because it was so violent so fast. And then he says it was an accident. I was like, no, Henry, you went all into that.
Yeah, I think he started off, just defending himself, and then once he kind of realized the power of having the real sword versus a wooden sword, and David had been working with him with sword fighting, but it was always with the wooden sword. So now he has this real one. I think that power kind of engulfed him and got to his head, and he acted out of character. So it's kind of what we saw Mary Margaret working with, when she got the black spot in her, those evil bouts. I think he's struggling right now with, remaining good versus going to the dark side.
And the part of going to the dark side is what's scary is he's turning all his beliefs from the good beliefs into the tainted beliefs, the stuff that Peter Pan wants him to believe. It's happening, and that's why I'm so worried about.
Yeah.
Kaori and Marisa, can you move a little to your right? Kaori, a little bit more to your right.
Got it.
Okay, there you go. Thank you.
Okay, cool.
Now?
Cool.
All right.
Need to make sure.
It's all good.
It's so weird not being able to see the facial expressions that you're making, Kaori. Because
I'm smiling with you guys.
Okay, good. Just checking.
We're on the same page here.
So this has been Pan's plan all along to, have Henry lose all hope and turn into one of the Lost Boys, and it's finally happening. And Pan even says the best thing about being a Lost Boy is that we never apologize. So we'll come back to the whole Lost Boy scenario later in the night. Let's get on to Hook's backstory. Right before we get into that, I just want to mention that if you are watching us on YouTube, then take 2 seconds, go over to iTunes and type in AFTERBUZZ TV, subscribe to our Once Upon a Time after show. We also have a ton of other after shows there. I think there are about 55 a week right now. So any show that you're a fan of, we probably have an after show for. And then if you could take another 30 seconds and rate and comment on our Once Upon a Time after show. We love hearing your feedback. We had some great comments this past week, and I will shout you guys out next week because I don't have my computer right now. And I apologize for that. But you guys are awesome. I did read them earlier this week, and they were very nice. So.
Thanks for sprinkling a little pixie dust on our podcast. I thought of that in my head.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
Thanks. Yeah. So, whether you love it or you hate it, please let us know because we're always looking to improve here. And, we also love your predictions. Every single week, you guys commenting on our YouTube videos with your predictions. They're amazing. And sometimes they even help Tiona form even newer predictions, crazier ideas. But keep that conversation going because we really enjoy reading those comments and responding to them.
Yes.
So, Hook's backstory, we got a lot of it tonight. We knew that he was on a ship at one point before being this pirate that he's turned into, and he worked on the ship with his brother, Captain Liam Jones.
He was pretty hot back then. Yeah,
he's still hot.
Just saying.
Yes, he was very, very
I loved his ponytail with his bow.
That was the only thing I didn't like.
The
I agree with you, Kathy.
bow.
I think he was more well kept though,
Yeah.
which is more attractive.
He wasn't a drinker back then.
It was very interesting to see him in a very vulnerable, more sensitive and softer side of
straight
Hook.
edge Captain Hook.
Yeah.
And this is what was he called before?
Killian Jones.
Killian Jones. Yes. So we find out that the reason why this ship can sail or can fly is because it contains feathers from Pegasus in one of its sails. And the men on the ship, the crew, have this mission set forth by the king that they have to go to Neverland to find a medicine called Dreamshade, which we all know is not a medicine.
It's the opposite of a medicine.
The anti-medicine.
So their king, which maybe we'll learn who it is in later episodes.
Yeah, because we don't know how long ago this was.
And
we don't know who was
which
the king at this time.
It could be someone that we're familiar with, or it could be a completely
what
different
if it
king.
was Snow's dad?
I know, I was thinking that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the only king we really know right
Well,
now.
it could have been
David.
One of the few kings.
David's father.
Yeah.
So. Yeah,
Right.
and we haven't seen him in a really long time, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him again soon. But the boat flies off to Neverland, and they're on this quest to find Dreamshade for the king, who is currently in battle. We also know that David's dad was in battle at one point. And there, the brother Joneses meet Pan, and he helps them out by telling them that Dreamshade is actually poison. However, they don't believe him. And the brother ends up cutting himself with a thorn from the Dreamshade plant to prove that the king is valiant and truthful.
Which was a very foolish action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is a new island that you've never been to. You just met this kid that you don't trust. He's a little shady, so I'm sure that reason is why that you wouldn't want to believe in the poison. But that was very foolish.
His brother is to the king and how trustworthy he is to those who he keeps close, I guess.
And it goes to show, because, I mean, the episode's good form, and that's something that Killian, at this time, as he's called, kept saying, it's not good form. He says, he doesn't fight anyone who's, inferior, or injured already. He believes in playing fair, so having this poison to use against their enemies wouldn't be fair. Yeah. And so I think it talks a lot to Hook's character that even though he's a bad guy now, or he's trying to redeem himself or whatever, but he still has those same values of good form and making sure that it's a fair and even fight no matter who he's fighting for.
Here's the scary part about Peter Pan is that he says a lot of things that are very truthful and very cut, dry, honest, and you just don't know what to believe or not because he's very tricky. And twice in this episode, at least, he said something real, and people just don't know what to believe.
I mean, the Jones brothers weren't his enemies at this point, so he had no reason to lie to them. But, I mean, we see later in this episode, after the whole situation with Liam being poisoned and then getting the cure, that Pan actually tells Killian how to get the cure. We see Hook changes and he becomes this pirate that we know him as now. Do you think that was the turning point in him losing a lot of his morals?
I think so too, and it kind of shows. I can understand the reason why Hook threw off his coat, and it was like solidarity, pretty much. But I think it was just his, exactly. It was his turning point a little bit.
I think he realized that the system is corrupt, and he didn't want to be a part of a corrupt system, and so instead he started. He said, "Let's do this on our own because they're corrupt, and we don't have to fight for people who aren't fair and
you don't
just."
know who to trust.
Yeah, and it kind of speaks to a lot of people feel that way in our world. The system's corrupt, so they go off and try their own path, and whether it be good or bad.
So we think that he lost his moral compass, we'll call it, before he ever met Mila and lost her as well.
Yeah. And the thing is, I don't think he himself feels like he's doing anything wrong. He really believes he's kind of like the libertarian in this this thing here. He's doing something right, that all the people should be free and they shouldn't go and listen to rules, especially if it's a tainted rule or has negative aspects to it.
And I'm not sure that he's lost his morals. He's like, damn the man,
He's choosing to disregard that moral compass that he has.
The set rules because he still has those values that he holds very highly. And
it's nice to know that he understands what is right and what is wrong, and that he's just choosing to do that. And it seems that Emma might be the one who can change this bad boy.
We shall see.
So yes, as we said, Pan is the one who actually shows Killian the cure to Dreamshade, which is the waterfall behind the Dreamshade plant. Why do we think Pan helped him out in this regard?
Well, it seems like Hook still owes him a favor.
Yes.
Or at least we didn't get to see him.
I think there's definitely more backstory between them.
I think this was like the starting point where, because Pan is so calculated and he knows games, that he realized if Hook does save his brother and use the water, then he has power over Hook to keep him on the island and use him for his own doing.
Yeah, I think that's completely what it is. I think Peter Pan was being kind of manipulative because he has his own reasons to get Hook to trust him and be on his side, and it's going to backfire in the future, and that's why they obviously have a relationship that we don't quite understand yet.
Yeah. So Killian turns into Hook, and the ship turns into the Jolly Roger. He burns the Pegasus sail, and they are now going to, do what they want and steal from whoever they want. And
Oh no, go on. And he said, he's burning it so that no one will ever go back to that horrible island again. Yet he still ends up back there. So
they find a way, and the Jolly Roger can still fly. So kind of curious how that all happens. But
yeah.
We'll find out. I'm sure we will get more backstory to Hook this season.
And it's funny because for the first time, I've actually kind of felt that Hook really has a similarity with Peter Pan in terms of rebellion. They both have like their own clan and their own beliefs that they
share that.
And they do a lot of evil things, but I don't know if they really believe it's evil, considering Peter Pan's doing it for quote-unquote magic, and Hook's doing it for quote-unquote the good of the
I think
Liberty
Peter Pan's
people.
pretty evil.
Yeah, but he's a kid. Kids can be evil.
Right now. We don't know how old Peter Pan is.
That's true.
Peter Pan is older, or
He knew Rumpelstiltskin.
We think that he's older than Rumpelstiltskin.
Yeah, didn't he say a line tonight that he's like, I'm not a kid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's at least, mentally, he is much older than a kid. He is an adult many times over. But yes, he does look like a child. So let's get into, speaking of children, the Save Henry crew.
Yeah.
And saving their lost boy. Hook ends up telling Emma that he knows what it feels like to lose something and give up hope. And we know from the previews of the last episode that Hook and Emma have a makeout session in tonight's episode, which they did show us, whether you liked it or not. And
yeah, there's a lot of get a room moments.
oh my gosh, especially
really was.
towards the end.
Yeah.
So David and Hook end up fighting because David is unsure of Hook's intentions and he doesn't want him to go after his daughter Emma. David then keels over and the dream shade poison has finally gotten to him. Hook wakes him up with alcohol, which usually has the opposite effect on people. And once again, we see the dream shade is about to reach David's heart, which means he will die.
And he's still being stubborn and not telling anyone.
know.
So what do we think of this? I
Fight it
mean,
to the end.
even though David is lying for a somewhat noble cause, does that make him a bad person that he is withholding this information?
I don't think he's a bad person, but I think it's kind of selfish of him, especially for him to say goodbye like that, and they're wondering why is he being so dramatic about the goodbye. And he should tell them, at least know, you know what, my life is fleeting and this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I get that he wants to keep everyone focused on saving Henry and doesn't want to take the attention or focus off of that. But at the same time, you're slowing them down. And if they were to suddenly and without knowing that it was going to happen lose you, then I think that would stop them in their tracks worse than them finding out that you have dream shade in your system.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I get why David doesn't want to tell anyone to save his life, but I think him accepting the price that he's paying for to save his life was even more selfish.
Yeah. So another liar is Hook, and he tells David that they can go and climb Dead Man's Peak because his brother actually left a satchel containing a sextant which will help decode Neil's star map. And David is, the hero, so he wants to climb the peak without telling everyone and get the sextant, then have Hook climb down, deliver it to the people so they can get off the island.
And what, he's supposed to just say, oh yeah, we were attacked by Lost Boys and he was killed in battle? Would they have believed Hook if he came back without David?
I don't know.
You know? I think that would have raised more questions than...
It definitely would have
point.
raised more questions, but they would have had to continue on, and they would have had no option other than, finding Henry and getting off the island.
I think because it is Save Team Henry that they're so concerned about David too that they might actually stop and change their course and save David.
Yeah.
Had that happen.
So Hook and David climb Dead Man's Peak, but Hook gets up there first, and he's approached by Pan, who, tells, they have this little reminiscing scene, I guess. Yeah. And he said, remember last time when you didn't listen to me, Hook? Well, your brother almost died. And then he did die.
Yeah.
And, I tried to tell
simple
you.
enough.
I told you that Dream Shade was poisonous. You didn't listen to me. I did tell you the cure, and I told you that all magic comes with a price, and if you leave the island,
There's your
it's not going to work out.
Yeah.
So, that didn't work out so good for you last time. And he had a deal. Pan said that if Hook kills David before the Dream Shade, once they reach the top of the peak, that he will let Emma and Hook off the island. Not with Henry, but that's his option. And it seems like, that that would be Hook's best option at this point.
But Hook is smart to say no because Emma would not leave her son.
No.
Yeah.
It's very true. But Peter did come back with she did before. But my argument to that is that she did not know him as well when she left him as a child. And she thought she was doing what was best for him. And I don't think any mother would think that leaving their son with Peter Pan is what's best for them.
Definitely not. So, and I think at this point, Hook is being a more noble person. We saw that he was much more noble when he had Mila. We saw that he was noble when he had Bay as a young kid. And now he has Emma. And I think that he wants to be a better person for her.
Ooh, he is trying hard, too, to get in there.
I think this whole David situation, because it's so similar to his brother's situation, that it makes Hook realized the person he used to be and like the actions he used to do. So I think it was just his way of reminiscing, being like, oh yeah, I was a good person. Let me try to be a good person again.
Yeah.
So Hook ends up saving David after David kind of questions his loyalties and said, you know, I think I heard you talking to someone up here. And he was right. Hook lies and said he was just talking to himself because that's what pirates do when you're on a ship alone for so many hours.
I guess so. But and then he has a bottle of rum, so
I don't know.
I guess it all works out.
It ended up working out after, you know, David keels over. Hook ends up getting the cure from the spring. He doesn't look like he's hit with dream shade, but I feel like he might be.
You do?
I don't know. Like, he was so careful about it, and then he checked himself after. But
yeah, I think Hook, he's so layered in clothing that it might have just protected him.
Okay.
So
yeah, because he put his gloves on.
I thought about that too. I was like, he's really slashing away.
Yeah.
But I'm like, he has a lot of
he's got
clothing.
experience with this dream shade stuff.
Exactly.
Definitely. So Hook wakes up David and says, you have to drink this from the spring. The only caveat is that once you drink it, you can never leave Neverland alive. And David drinks it, and he says that's a small price to pay for saving my grandson Henry.
I don't believe
That's not a small price.
Yeah.
I mean, it's either he dies there right then and there, or this buys him some time.
Exactly.
And yes, he will be stuck on this island, but
he'll know that his family's safe and they're out of there.
And
but there's no way Snow would leave without him.
Yeah.
They would come back for him.
Yeah, they could make trips. You know, let's go to Grandma and Grandpa's. Off to Neverland we go.
See, this would be the perfect time to tell Emma and Snow, yo, I was poisoned by Dream Shade, and I was rescued by Hook, not this other Hook rescuing lie thing.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be stuck here.
Yeah, as opposed to what's gonna happen.
A snowball of lies, and that seems like what men do sometimes. Is it's easier to have several white lies.
Oh,
than,
don't I know it?
Yeah. So. Meanwhile, during all of this, the guys, you know, going up the
kind of like girls and boys tonight. I kind of liked it.
It is girls and boys separation. So the girls' side, Emma, Regina, and Mary Margaret capture the lost boy who was earlier seen dueling with Henry, and they offer him chocolate in exchange to deliver a message to Henry. But this doesn't work. The boy throws it away. He has more willpower than most women, and
willpower than me.
The boy tells them that Henry is actually one of the most vicious recruits we've seen in ages. That does not sit well.
No.
Is he lying, though, or is that what he truly believes?
I think he's lying. He's like Peter Panning, like that little white lie-ish thing.
Not even how many hours ago Henry sliced his cheek open. I would say that's a pretty evil kid.
That was the first thing that we saw from Henry.
Well,
That was
we
the
haven't
reason why
seen
he
this
called him
lost.
vicious.
We haven't seen this lost boy before. Maybe that's the first time he saw Henry. Maybe he was off on a different part of the island.
He did say, "Oh, you're the person who Pan's been looking for all this time."
You're not that great.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think that Henry has shown that he is actually that vicious. He had one slip up where he showed a vicious side
Yeah.
I mean,
But
we don't know that maybe the other recruits that have come to the island, it takes them months to get to that point. We don't know that. And maybe this was within 24 hours, Henry changed from being this innocent little boy into being this sword-wielding, vicious kid.
Yeah.
I think the Lost Boy was just trying to scare the three ladies.
so.
That's it.
Yeah.
And he did say that he has no desire to leave the island, and they just assumed that that's what he wanted. But in fact, he wants to stay there, and they realize that they can't do things the nice way. So Regina takes out the boy's heart and controls him, and Mary Margaret, not too happy about this, but
That was very dark. That was a very dark moment.
I was 100% okay with this because, like I told you guys while we were watching, hey, we're just going to borrow his heart for a little bit to get a message to Henry. We can put it right back in. We don't have to crush the heart and kill the
still hurts
kid.
them.
We can just take it out, put it back
They
in. It hurts for that
deserve it.
moment, and then he's
deserve it.
fine. And he hurt Henry first, so.
But the fact
Yeah.
that two good people, Emma and, well, Mary Margaret didn't really have a choice in the matter, but Emma allowed such darkness to happen just to save their son,
Yeah.
like Henry. That was dark.
yeah.
It was, but I
It
think
didn't feel
It
dark.
was a-
Yeah.
As dark, I mean.
It was a turning point.
It was a turning point for Emma, but I think that Emma is okay with it because she knows that she's doing this. She's the one who's able to separate her feelings and what needs to actually happen. Mary Margaret can't separate those two. So Emma's separating, this is a horrible thing to do, but it's our best plan of action. So she's
Yeah.
separating the two and getting business done, which is something that Regina always does and Mary Margaret never does. And then you have Emma who's able to separate and have both of them. So she's kind of the mesh right in between both
Yeah.
of these
And
two.
look how well it turned out. I mean, that was the most revealing thing we've gotten all
Yes.
season. Is finally Henry
Finally he
probably
knows.
knows,
Yeah.
or
Like
at least
some communication.
it reignites his beliefs,
Yeah.
perhaps. So that's good.
Yeah.
So, yes, the possessed boy delivers the message that his parents and, the rest of his family is still alive on the island, and he also delivers this mirror that allows them to communicate with Henry. And
That was awesome. Magical FaceTime.
yeah.
Yeah, right.
And
That's a
unfortunately,
good way of saying it.
Henry ends up throwing the mirror as Pan approaches. The mirror breaks.
I would have put it in my pocket. He's wearing like
I know.
cargo jeans.
He probably
or
freaked
something.
out.
Although then
Yeah.
Pan would be like, "Why is your pocket talking?"
He's probably just so scared of Pan that it's better to get rid of the evidence.
But now they have no form of communication.
And it
Yeah.
could be the opposite. Henry saw it and he questioned it a lot of if it was actually real. And we already have seen Pan in his head getting to him, taking away his hope. So maybe there's a
But
part of Henry who
Pan
is starting to not want to leave.
Pan
and-
wouldn't know about Operation Cobra. Pan would not
Right.
know about
Yeah, I
No,
know. So
but-
he gets that, but does he want to leave still? Because part of him is starting to conform and be a part of this Lost Boy
That's
group.
the-
Thinks that his dad is dead, so.
Henry still wants to go home because we saw him draw in the ground a figure of a home.
Yep.
And then when Pan was talking to him, he stepped on it, destroying
Trying to
the
hide it.
image of home. And then when he was talking through the mirror, he got that glimpse of hope back.
Yeah.
And they said that Neverland is like built on hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, later in this episode, we already talked about Hook saving David, and David comes back with Hook and tells everyone, Mary Margaret, Regina, and Emma, that Hook saved him from a poison arrow, which isn't the whole truth, but it is somewhat true that Hook did save his life. Emma thanks Hook with a very lengthy kiss, and she says it's a one-time thing, and Hook says, as you wish, which is
You guys like
Princess
that.
Bride,
Oh,
guys.
Bride, as you all know.
We all know as you wish means I love you.
Killian Jones will never be Princess Bride, actually.
But I feel like that is something that David, the boy who lived on a farm, should say, not Hook. But regardless,
if that's
I'm happy
what
that
she
Hook
wishes
pros.
right now,
As you
cool.
wish.
But Hey,
That
I'm
kiss
just
was-
saying that kiss.
It was very smoochy.
It was convincing. I will say that.
I was not happy with it. I mean, it was good. Don't get me wrong.
It's a one-time thing.
I'm very glad Emma thinks it's a one-time thing. Please, make that true.
The fact that she initiated it was even more
I
interesting.
mean, he kind of dared her to do it. And she wasn't going to back down because they have this kind of rapport going on. And then, you know, he says, oh, yeah, well, you couldn't handle it. And she's like, oh, you're the one who couldn't handle it. And it's kind of like a prove me who has the bigger cojones. You know, who's going to actually go through and do it. And so she stepped up to the plate, did it, and then pushed him away and was like,
done.
Be gone. Done with you. On to the next one. And I love it.
They unfortunately cannot live happily ever after because Pan pops out, confronts Hook, and tells him that you should have taken my deal because that kiss meant nothing. Even though you are hopeful that you can be with Emma, Neil, her true love, is still alive. And not just that, but he is on the island of Neverland.
Boom. Drops the bomb and then tells him that he has the choice of whether to tell Emma about it or not.
Good.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, if Emma finds out that he knew and didn't tell her, then he's back to being a horrible person. If he tells her, then he kind of loses his shot with her.
What do we think he's gonna do? I mean, we can save it for predictions, but
I mean, Peter Pan is giving him this power to say, are you a changed man or are you still this conniving Hook guy? And yeah, I guess it's a predictions thing, but
if he doesn't tell her, then everything that he's been trying to prove about himself is false,
wrong,
and it's just a waste of time, and he's not deserving.
But he wants her so bad.
I think it'll take a couple episodes for him to tell, you know, what's going on. But
exactly.
anyways, we see Pan heads back to the Lost Boys camp, and as we all know, Neil is captured, and the Lost Boys drugged him. They put him in a box, and Pan says, hang him up to the other, next to the other one.
Who's in the box?
Who is in the box?
Once again, what's in the box?
We didn't see Rumple at all this episode.
We didn't see Neil at all in this episode.
Oh, well, we know Neil is in one of the...
Or it could be the mermaid.
Could be
the
Could be
mermaid.
Ariel. So, I mean, we can save all of this for predictions. First up, we do have some news and gossip presented by the Blue Fairy.
Yay, that's me!
TV News.
Steven, do you have our pictures?
Give me just one moment.
Okay. Well, as everyone might know,
We can describe this.
Jamie Dornan has been cast as Christian Grey in 50 Shades of Grey,
happy.
aka Sheriff Graham. The saddest part about this is that Oncers everywhere now have to share him with the world because everyone's gonna know who he is now.
I'm just gonna say
He
we
deserves
can
it.
all be the hipsters and be like, we liked Jamie Dornan before you
Yes.
did.
He was a Calvin Klein model, so I mean, this is just a glimpse of his sexiness that he will be bringing to the 50 Shades movie.
If you are not
that's my
watching, you
favorite.
should.
Hello.
I mean, I had
Hello,
no
Jamie.
interest with Charlie Hunnam, but this guy has made me say, I'm going to go see that.
There was
Yes.
a petition
Oh, yeah.
against
I'm gonna
Charlie
see that.
Hunnam,
There was.
and I think
Yeah, it was an
that-
awful casting choice.
That 50 Shades
one of us may
fans are a
have
lot
not
happier with
done
that.
it. Yeah, that's true.
So, Steven, did you turn off the AC in here? It's like really, really hot.
He's just gorgeous.
got hotter.
So yeah, like we said, he's replacing Charlie Hunnam, who's from Sons of Anarchy, who dropped out of the project, claiming conflicting schedules. We don't know. Maybe it was just the backlash of everyone saying that he was the wrong person. But it's set to start shooting next month, and it's set to come out August 1st of 2014. So I know I'll be that night
And we'll be there
all
again.
day.
Yeah.
I do have to say, though, there were two conflicting stories
Yes.
of whether, you know, there was so much backlash and that's why Charlie Hunnam dropped out, or that it was a not so great script and that is why he didn't want to be a part of it.
Oh, please.
So-
like the
I mean,
rewrite.
Pacific Rim was awesome, but the script wasn't terrific. It was great.
True.
Yeah.
That's true. You can make gold out of crap sometimes.
Yeah.
Did make Charlie Hunnam a household name for a couple months.
Yeah,
though,
for a
so.
couple
little
weeks.
bit.
Couple weeks.
And he has Sons of Anarchy, so he's gonna be fun.
Yeah, and he's doing a
completely.
movie, Crimson Peak, so that's what they said that was
am-
the conflict. So
yeah. Not worried about him.
he's got other stuff going
Yeah.
on. He's fine. Don't worry about
Jamie
it.
Dornan.
God bless America. In other news,
He's British.
Yeah, he's British, but that's okay.
Okay.
Yes, that's okay.
He's filming here. Maybe.
Yes. Adam Horowitz tweeted out last week the ratings for last week for Once Upon a Time. It was the #1 broadcast scripted show of the night and the #1 broadcast drama for the 4th week. Wow. So
Sweet.
we are doing great this season with the ratings. So
Awesome.
all signs.
It's been nonstop action.
It's just
this
been
season,
really good this season. The pace and all the
pace and
characters.
everything
Peter
is
Pan is
awesome.
he's even scarier than Rumple.
Yes, he is. I'm more scared of
It's more
Peter Pan.
mysterious
Yeah.
than Rumple.
He's scarier
Absolutely.
than Rumple and Regina combined.
Yeah,
This is true.
I miss Rumple.
Buddy TV had an interview with Lana Parrilla, and they asked what it was like to have everyone together, you know, because she's working with the Charming family, and she had some interesting things to say. She said, for Lana, it's been fun. For Regina, it's frustrating. She kind of gets at her wits end by episode 6. We saw a glimpse of her getting at her wits end, and this is episode 5. So starting next week, I think we're gonna see a little bit more of Regina being like, you know what, I tried your lovey-dovey way and it's not working, so we're doing things my way. So that's exciting to hear.
That should be fun to see.
Yeah, and then Entertainment Weekly sat down with Jennifer Morrison and asked her, so is Hook a good kisser?
Oh dear.
And after a huge laugh, she says, listen, I have no complaints on this show. I've gotten to kiss Jamie Dornan,
Married.
Lucky.
Michael Raymond James,
I don't know.
and Colin O'Donoghue.
Married.
I think I'm doing okay.
You know,
So
Which one is
that's Neil.
Oh,
Yeah.
duh.
Yeah.
but here's the thing though. If someone asked you, is this person a good kisser? How could you say no anyway? No, this person was terrible. He was a sloppy Joe.
Oh my god, he has halitosis. It was just so gross.
Some people are bad though.
Yeah, but you can't say it.
Yeah, everyone always says that the person
He's
was a
just
good kisser.
frog.
Yeah.
So that is our news and gossip.
That's a lot of sexy news and gossip.
yeah.
That's good.
Steamy.
Okay, predictions. Invisible Kaori, you go first.
I will reappear next
Okay.
week. That's my prediction. But I also, I think that Hook will not tell Emma about Neil because he wants to reel her in. And it's going to be a reveal and it's going to be a defining change once Henry's around.
Okay. I agree with a lot of
that
that.
makes sense.
Yeah. Marissa.
At first, I thought the guy in the box could have been Neil or Greg. Because we saw Greg's shadow ripped, but we don't know where the body necessarily
I think it's going to be Gwyneth Paltrow's head.
That feels so random.
Maybe.
Hopefully not.
Oh gosh.
And then, like,
What's in the box?
I don't know. I kind of thought that at first throughout the episode, I thought the Pegasus sailed that they were going to find it somehow and use it to get back. But then they burned it. I'm like, what if there's a remnant left somewhere?
Or that since there were so many ashes from that it made the whole ship.
Yeah. And then another thing that, like, if David doesn't fully cure from Dream Shade, they could use, like, pixie dust or something.
Right.
Yeah,
For healing.
I was gonna say, I wonder how Regina or someone has to come up with a way for David to leave Neverland with everyone else because they're not gonna leave him behind.
Maybe destroy Pan.
Yeah, maybe if you
His
kill off
powers or
Peter.
something.
Or if you take out his heart, because Dream Shade, once it gets to the heart, that's where, that's how it kills you.
But
so if
doesn't
you take out his heart, then he'll be fine.
He'll be a
Don't you
different
think it would shut
David.
down other organs, though? I'm getting into anatomy here.
No,
No, you're right
Regina
though.
didn't have her heart for a really long time. Cora didn't have her heart in her. She placed it somewhere else for
But doesn't-
safekeeping.
That's true. Don't you guys-
They can still suffer from, like, humans' pain, right?
Yeah, but it feels like if you take the heart away, you take away the goodness of them. They become kind of devoid, and there's some,
Yeah.
Definitely.
Emotionally
and maybe
yeah.
season 4 we would see an evil David. I mean, that could be kind of cool. Could be a swerve.
Could be,
that would be
that'd be
unbelievable.
interesting.
that would be interesting.
So, Blue Fairy.
I'm gonna say that they are gonna rescue Henry. I think Henry's kind of playing along with Pan, making him believe that he's on their side, and then when Pan lets down his guard, he'll attack from like within.
Okay.
Especially now that he knows that his moms and his grandma are there and his whole family. So I want to see Henry kick butt.
I just realized that your wand was made out of a knitting needle. And I'm really excited. So yes, Yes, I agree with a lot of these predictions, and we will find out in the coming weeks. So until then, where can they keep the conversation going, Agent Marisa?
You can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Serafini TV.
And you can find me in person at Kaorious, Kaorious.
On Twitter and Instagram, or just
Sure, everywhere.
Okay.
Everywhere.
And Boofer.
You can find me at the Tiona Hobson Twitter and Instagram.
And you can find me on Twitter at Cathy Kelley. You can find all of us here at AfterBuzz TV. So until next week, please keep the conversation going, and we will see you next time.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.